T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good morning, beautiful people, and welcome in. It is time for another edition of Out of the Tunnel here on the Jackwagon Sports Network. Nick and I are here today on this beautiful Saturday to get you ready for bowl season coming up and also the Army-Navy game that'll be played later today. What Nick and I are going to do is we're going to go through 6 different bowl games that are not the playoffs, shine a little light on them, talk about why we're excited about these matchups, and just give you our general thoughts on who we think is going to win. A lot of exciting bowl games. 41 in total this year, including the playoffs, but not the national championship. So we're really excited to talk about all of those. Nick, welcome in this morning. Let's go ahead and we're just going to dive right in and get started. First game we are going to talk about is the Armed Forces Bowl. This is between James Madison and Air Force. We begged for it all year. We wanted James Madison to get into a bowl game, and they sneak in due to not enough teams reaching 6 wins this year. And so here they are. They're going to go down. They're going to play Air Force in Dallas, Texas. I'm really excited for this game. James Madison has one of the best defenses in the country. Give me your quick thoughts on this and what about this matchup excites you?
Yeah, well, the first thing that excites me is JMU making it. Um, they begged all season, or I shouldn't say that they begged, but they kept placing waivers or waiver requests, kept getting denied, end up squeezing in, like you said, and not just squeezing in, but getting a nice matchup against Air Force. I think this has the potential to be a great game. Both of these teams deserve to be where they're at, and little different play styles. I'm interested to see how this game goes down. It might not be the flashiest game that you see, but it is going to be very technical, very sound, and a fun game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you would have told me mid-season that we were going to see James Madison and Air Force playing a bowl game, I probably would have been a little bit more excited. But nonetheless, I think this is still going to be a great matchup. Like you said, Air Force, one of the best rushing offenses in the country. James Madison, as I already mentioned, if they were allowed to be kept in the stats book, they would have the number 1 defense overall. Um, if I looked it up yesterday, the number 1 rush defense in the country is UCLA. They allow 69.6 yards per game. James Madison only gives up 61 and a half. So this is going to be a fantastic matchup between Air Force's obviously potent rushing offense and James Madison's very good rushing defense. A lot of people are concerned James Madison is going to be missing their starting quarterback. Their head coach has already left to take over at Indiana. But Air Force has a lot of question marks for them as well. They started the season 8-0. They look like a possible Cinderella to possibly get into the New Year's Six, and then they finished their season 0-4. As I've already said, they had the number 2 rush offense in the country. This is going to be a very slow, grinded out kind of game. What we're used to seeing from Air Force, but with kind of what James Madison is missing, I feel like this is going to be a game that's battled out on the ground almost the entire way. Again, I'm very, very excited to see this football game and James Madison get their chance at a bowl game. This game will be played December 23rd, 3:30 on ABC. James Madison right now is currently favored by 3 points. Nick, who do you think is going to win? Who wins the Armed Forces Bowl between these two teams?
Um, this is tough. I mean, I think JMU, was in a steady situation. It would be a lot easier to pick. I think that they, on paper, are the overall better team. But not having your head coach, it's only one game, and it's not like you're going to change whole systems or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, but it's always different not having your head coach there. But I think despite all that, I'm still going to stick with JMU. I think they have what it takes to get this done.
Yeah, I find it hard to pick against them. Again, even with the head coach leaving, a lot of the assistants are still there. That's who's going to be coaching the bowl game. I'm really impressed with kind of the whole system James Madison has, and I feel like they have a very good system in place where it's next man up, and I think that goes to the coaches as well. I think the offense and defense are still going to look very similar. I'm excited to see kind of what the next evolution of the James Madison offense is going to be. We're going to get a sneak peek of that this year, or in this bowl game, obviously with Jordan McLeod leaving in the transfer portal. So I'm excited to kind of see what James Madison can lay out for their future. With Air Force, just the way they've lost the last 4 games, it has to be very brutal, has to be weighing on them. And I find that very difficult to even though you get a couple weeks off here and you get time to prepare, to suddenly flip that switch and go back. This is going to be a tight game. I don't see one team pulling away from the other. That's why I picked this as one of the games I was excited to talk about today. This is a must watch game on December 23rd. I like JMU too much to pick against them right now, so I'm going to take James Madison as well. Let's move on. We have Kansas going to bowl games in back-to-back seasons. UNLV under the first-year head coach, looking to get a 10-win season. This is going to be the guaranteed rate bowl in Arizona. This will be December 26th, the day after Christmas, 9 o'clock at night. This will be played on ESPN. Kansas is currently a 12.5-point favorite. Nick, this is one that you picked for games that you were excited about. Why don't you tell us why you're very excited to see this game?
Yeah, so first up, this is the third ever meeting between Kansas and UNLV. I like new matchups. I like, obviously when there's history behind matchups, that's fun too. But it's always nice to see teams that don't play each other often. This is UNLV's fifth ever bowl appearance. It's their first since 2014. It's Kansas's 14th and their second in a row. We talked about them a lot last year in their run. Um, Matchup to watch in this one. This is what I'm going to be paying attention to in this game is Kansas running back Devin Neal versus UNLV standout linebacker Jackson Woodard. Neal rushed for 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns this year. Woodard led the Rebels in solo tackles with 52 and 113 total tackles. While watching a high flying passing attack is always fun, when you have a good matchup between a running back and a linebacker, that can be something fun to watch too. You always get some hard hits, some good plays on both sides. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, this is going to be I feel like a really good matchup. UNLV obviously didn't end the season; they wanted to losing the conference championship game at home to Boise State. But that was a fantastic football game to watch. If you missed that, um, looking at some other stats outside of this, both of these teams will actually play next year, and so a lot of people were surprised that they got matched up in a bowl game. Again, you can't say enough good things about Lance Leopold and what he has done at Kansas and the culture he has built there. Back-to-back winning seasons, looking very impressive, in his 4th year there. Um, Both teams actually played Nevada this year. Nevada's in the Mountain West, the same conference as UNLV. Kansas beat Nevada 31-27. UNLV beat them 45-27. So just an interesting little tidbit. And Kansas has not won a bowl game since the 2008 Insight Bowl. But yeah, again, Kansas is very loaded on offense. Questions on defense. I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. Who wins, Nick?
Um, I'm going to go with Kansas here. They're heavy favorites. I think that they're the better team, but I think that UNLV covers. Kansas has not been great covering when they are double-digit favorites. So I like UNLV to keep this one close. Kansas to come out on top.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very tight game, but I do think Kansas snaps that I don't know if you can call it a bowl losing streak. They haven't really been in bowls
Like
since
right,
2008,
yeah.
but I expect them to pick up their first win since 2008. But like you said, this is also I feel like UNLV and their fans are going to travel well to this game. It's not going to be very far from them going from Las Vegas to Arizona, so this could be a very pro UNLV crowd. But I like too much what Lance Leopold's doing there and the culture he's built, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Kansas in that one. But like you said, I think this is very close. Next game we have up is one I feel like has kind of lost a little bit of its luster in the past week with the transfer portal announcements and everything else going on. But nonetheless, I think this is still going to be a fantastic game. This was one of Slade's picks. We all picked 2 games. Slade's unfortunately sick this morning, so I hope you're feeling better soon, buddy. But this is going to be your Cotton Bowl. Missouri, Ohio State, and Dallas, Texas. This will be December 29th at 8 p.m. On ESPN. Missouri is currently favored by 2.5 points. Uh, Again, with McCord leaving, kind of puts a damper on it. We're not sure if Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trayvon Henderson are going to play yet. So questions there. Nonetheless, this is still a very anticipated matchup. Your thoughts on this one, Nick?
Yeah. First of all, this is a chance for Missouri to kind of prove that the regular season wasn't a fluke, that they belonged, in that conversation at the end of the year. Um, Not necessarily playoff conversation, but in the top list of teams at the end of the year. And yeah, there's going to be a little asterisk beside it if Missouri ends up winning because of everything Ohio State's got going on and players leaving for the NFL and the transfer portal. But nonetheless, this is still a team in Missouri that you look at the last couple seasons. This is a conversation not a lot of people probably had. Missouri making a respectable bowl game, playing against Ohio State, and having a possibility of winning. Even in past years with transfer portal and NFL and whatnot, um, Ohio State's still expected to win bowl games, and I think this is one that they very likely could lose, which is definitely something to watch out for. It's exciting if you're Mizzou, and who doesn't like seeing Ohio State lose? So
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
But back to what you were just saying about Missouri, though, where I really feel like this kind of came out of left field. We watched them last year in our Swear Jar Sweat. We live streamed them when they played. Oh God, who they play? Wake Forest. And we had a lot of questions. Missouri didn't look great in that game. It's like, oh, are they going to be any good this year? Are they going to make a bowl game next year? And now here they are. They're in the New Year's Six. They were one of the best teams in the SEC. And like you said, this is a huge chance for them to kind of put their stamp on the season and prove that they are one of the best. They do have a solid amount of players returning next year too. So this, if they're able to pull off the win, this can give them a ton of momentum going into next season, especially with that 12-team playoff format, to possibly sneak themselves in there and again continue to prove what they can do. Again, the biggest questions for me on Ohio State is if Harrison and Henderson are going to play. I think overall, as much as people like to look at McCord and say, "Wow, he really struggled this year," I don't think he was horrible. But we also seen this offense under Ohio State really struggle when they put Brown in at times when they were still trying to figure out who's going to be the starter at the beginning of the season. So I don't have the utmost faith in Brown being able to lead this team any better than what McCord did. That's kind of why he was the backup. And I really like how loaded Missouri is on offense. They have one of the best running backs in Schrader. They have a very good quarterback in Cook and Burden. Luther Burden the third is one of the best wide receivers in college football. And this offense is going to give Ohio State fits. It'll be very interesting to see what Venables can do, or not Venables. I can't think of it. What the defense coordinator can do at Ohio State to make adjustments. He's one of the best in the country doing that, at making adjustments and playing well to the offensive strengths. I just fear that Ohio State's offense, if they're missing those key pieces, won't be enough to keep up. So I'm going to take Missouri in this one. Who do you got in this one, Nick?
Yeah, I'm going Missouri too. Like I said, I think this is a great chance for Missouri to take the win, um, boost that momentum going into the off season. No disrespect against Ohio State, which is weird because I normally mean disrespect to Ohio State. But just with the situations they got going on, if I'm Marvin Harrison, I'm probably not playing in this game, especially with the quarterback that I don't have as much rhythm and chemistry with. That's a big risk. And obviously, we look at the Ohio State offense this year. It ran through Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, yeah, both their running backs, were productive, but when it came down to it and the offense was struggling, it was just find Marvin Harrison and throw him the ball, let him make a play. And with the chance to be a top 5 draft pick in the NFL, if I'm him, I'm not playing. But a lot of people feel differently about that, so we'll see. But whether he plays or not, I like Missouri in this.
Yeah. And the rumor has come out from Ohio State. Again, I don't know how factual this is, but uh, the Ohio State NIL collective or whatever it is offering Henderson and Harrison Jr. the amount of money in an NIL deal that they would get if they were a first round draft pick. Um, so again, if that's true, great for them. It'll be interesting to see still what they pick and go forward from there. And I think that's the biggest question mark around this. This game, I think it's at like an 8.5, 9 for me. If those two play, I think it goes all the way up to 10. I think that makes that
Oh
matchup
yeah.
that much more exciting. Before we continue with our bowl preview, we do want to remind you guys that the Capital One Bowl Mania contest is live. You head over to ESPN, um, go to their games or their fantasy page. You click on Capital One Bowl Mania, fill out your picks, and then once you make your picks, you join our contest. Our group name is Jack Wagon Sports 2023 contest. Join us. We have about 10 people already that have joined, 9 technically, because obviously our group as a whole is going to make picks. So we have 9 other people joined right now. 1 entry per person. You must be following us on any social media. That's our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or even YouTube. When you make your entry and you go to name it, please just put your Twitter handle or whatever social media handle you want, so that way it's best to get in touch with you if you do win. The winner gets $75. So this is your chance to win $75. All you have to do is be the best at picking and follow these simple rules. If you win and you're not following us on any social media, you will not get the money. It'll go to second place. And also a slight rule change that we have this year. Shout out to Jesse McGee, who brought this up last year. But if we win again, we will then pass it on to the second place. But we're still going to compete, just so you guys can see how you stack up with us head to head. So make sure you head over there and enter that. We will remind you again at the end of the show. Let's keep moving with our bowl preview for this season. The next one we got is going to take place right down the road from me here in Charlotte. We got UNC in West Virginia in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. This is one of my favorite bowl games every single year. It doesn't matter who the teams are that are playing, but the mayonnaise bath and everything going on with that. The way Duke's promotes this, I think, makes this such a great bowl game. Um, and West Virginia fans are basically planning a takeover, and I am excited to see what that stadium can do. We saw it a couple years ago. I think it was 2018. I think they actually played UNC, and the West Virginia packed that place out, and they were singing "Country Roads." So if I can make it to this game, I'm definitely going to. This will be December 27th, 5:30 p.m. on ESPN. West Virginia is currently favored by 3 points. Um, do you think Drake May plays in this game? For me, that's the biggest question surrounding UNC. Is he going to
Mhm.
go to the draft? Is he going to play in this game? So on and so forth. What are your thoughts on Drake May?
Yeah. A lot of talks right now, kind of along the lines of Marvin Harrison Jr. There's talks he could be a top 5 pick. There's some teams out there that could very easily move up and take him, or maybe a team that's there take him. Um, Look, if with the way, so normally I would say this is an opportunity for him to prove that he's QB1 going into the NFL draft. Not saying that he's necessarily been up there, but we saw Caleb Williams struggle and USC struggle late in the season. This could be a chance for Drake May to kind of put himself back up there. But with that being said, it's also a chance for him to get injured. And these teams are already skeptical enough about drafting QBs high up. um, we've seen a lot of bust in the first couple picks in the NFL drafts. So it's kind of a toss up. I personally think he doesn't end up playing in this game. I think that sits out. Whether I play in this game or I don't play in this game, I get a good chance of being top 5, if not top 10. And I don't think that it's worth ruining the chance at that. Just for I think this could be a great matchup. With him playing, I think it's going to be a great matchup either way. But I think he sits out.
Yeah, I do as well. And in that case, I think it's still going to be an excellent preview again of what UNC is going to look like next year. And so I'm excited to see it in that regards. The other thing coming into this matchup is West Virginia has one of the best rushing offenses in the country. They currently sit at number 3 in rushing offense. UNC has a horrible, horrible rushing defense. So that'll be very interesting to see how UNC's offense can kind of overcome those gaps, and keep up with West Virginia's offense at the same time. UNC also has 3 straight bowl losses. That is another interesting little fact. Who do you think wins this game, Nick?
Yeah, as much as I love the um the University of North Carolina, as much as I love the Tar Heel Blue, I think this is a game that West Virginia kind of takes over. The scoreboard might not be necessarily lopsided, but like you said, West Virginia's got the ability to run the ball, and UNC does not have the ability to stop that. and that's going to make for a long day for that UNC defense. I think West Virginia takes it.
Yeah. I'm going to go with West Virginia too. I think they're able to just run the ball over all over UNC and keep that time of possession. Even if UNC does have a competent offense in this game without Drake May, I just don't see them being able to be on the field enough to kind of keep up with West Virginia. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take West Virginia as well. Excited to see that one. Hopefully I can make it, and we shall wait and see on that. Next game up is one. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season these two teams were going to play, I would have been a lot more excited to see this one. Nonetheless, I still think it's going to be a good game. Very bipolar teams. We have South Alabama versus Eastern Michigan in the 68 Ventures Bowl. This will be December 23rd, 7 p.m. on ESPN. South Alabama is currently favored by 16 points. Nick, this was another one of your picks for most exciting or games you're most excited for, or you wanted to talk about. So go ahead and tell us why.
Yeah. Well, the first reason is we like to give shout outs and give attention to teams that don't always get a lot of attention. And I seen this game and thought it was a good opportunity for that. Um, this game will actually be played at South Alabama's home field, Hancock Whitney Stadium, which I thought was pretty cool, and that doesn't happen often, like if ever, in bowl games. I remember seeing something about it on Twitter the other day, so I thought that was cool. Um, I don't know. Google was being rough this morning at trying to find like matchup history. So all I could find was their last three matchups. South Bama is 2-1. They're 15 to 16 point favorites to go 3-1 in that. And South Bama is also looking for their first win in or bowl win. Can't talk this morning. In team history. So that's definitely going to be something to watch out for, especially as they are favored. Can they live up to those expectations and come out and get their university the first bowl win?
Yeah. Um, So, but before I go into my notes for this, um, for you and everybody at home, if you want to look up the matchup history between two teams, I found this wonderful website called Winsipedia, and they bookmark every single game between two teams. It's a ton of fun, very insightful, and I love that. And whenever we're doing research for the show, that's usually the website I use the most. So just a heads up for you and everybody at home. I feel like that's fun to share with you guys. Winsipedia, and you can put any two teams in there, and it tells you who's leading the all-time, all that stuff, how many matchups they had, and all the scores of those matchups. But yeah, so back to this game. Both of these teams just had very disappointing seasons. We thought USA was going to be off to the races when they started. They beat Oklahoma State on the road and they trounced them. Like it wasn't close. I'm like, wow, South Alabama's really good this year. And then they would turn around and lose three straight. So very disappointing in that aspect, especially with how they played last year. And then Eastern Michigan came in. They had a lot of hype behind them in the MAC conference. A lot of people picked them to win. Slade was one of them. I was kind of still in the bandwagon, and they just fell flat on their face this season. They have no wins over a bowl eligible team. Um, if you look at kind of the portal so far for both of these teams, South Alabama's leading receivers in the portal. Eastern Michigan, they're almost last in total offense in the country, and their starting quarterback is in the transfer portal this year. So again, beginning of the season, if you told me these two teams were playing, I would have been a lot more excited to watch this bowl game. I'm going to go with South Alabama to win this one. I don't think they cover the 16-point spread. I just don't see their offense. And again, like I said, they're very bipolar. They can be fantastic one game, terrible the next. I see this being kind of an ugly football game. And like even though they're playing at home, I think Eastern Michigan can find a way to keep it somewhat close. I don't think South Alabama covers the spread, but I do think they win. Who do you got?
Yeah, I got South Alabama too. I'm not normally a big fan of ugly football games. It gets annoying usually because one of my teams is responsible for a lot of that ugliness. Um, but I get to watch this, and I don't know. Bowl season is different for me because I kind of expect a certain level of ugliness to bowl games with teams, transfer portal, NFL stuff like that. Um, so I think this could be one of those ones that you look back on and laugh. Um, it's not going to be a technical showing by any means. You're not going to use this on ESPN to break down gameplay, um, but it could be a wacky, fun game. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I do think it's gonna be a very fun game. Last game we're gonna preview is a New Year's Six bowl game. Our second one, Slade took the easy ones. He picked the New Year's Six bowls, but he did pick the Orange Bowl. This obviously has a ton of storylines behind it going in. Two teams feeling very disrespected heading into the bowl season. Florida State, undefeated Power Five champion, held out of the playoffs. Georgia, number one team in the country for multiple weeks. They lose a game by 3 points. They're out of the playoffs. Um, one thing that I don't want to keep harping on this, but I just want to say the last thing to the committee, because what we've talked about this at length on Thursday's show, Slade and I. uh, the fact that not only keeping Florida State out, but how do you have Georgia fall from 1 to 7, and then tell me that Florida State's better than Georgia, but not better than Alabama? Something I just don't understand. But again, it's the playoff committee, and we're not going to keep talking about it. Nonetheless, like I said, obviously there's a lot of question marks about what's going to happen with this game. Norvell has already he did not go to the press conference for the Orange Bowl with Kirby Smart the other day. And so they canceled that press conference. Who's going to play for Florida State? Who's going to play for Georgia? Who's sitting out? All this fun stuff. Um, I really feel like we're going to get our first look at Georgia's next team up. Who's going to compete for the national championship next year for Georgia? Can Florida State have any kind of competent offense in this with their second and third string quarterbacks in? How determined is FSU going to be? Are they going to be determined to prove that they are definitely one of the better teams in the country and that they can beat Georgia or hang with them? They're coming in as 14-point underdogs, or are they going to be very disappointed and kind of unmotivated after everything that happened with the playoff committee and keeping them out? Your thoughts on this one, Nick?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is I wanted to apologize to Florida State fans. I have felt kind of bad ever since the playoff committee revealed their rankings. So I did not have Florida State in my top four. However, I said that the committee would put Florida State in their top four because the committee has a job to uphold their word. And by their word and their standards, Florida State should have been in. And I've seen just about every Florida State upset video, the team reaction video, all that stuff. I didn't have Florida State in, but I don't get paid to make those decisions. So I just wanted to say shout out to Florida State. I think that well, I don't think that I made the point. I don't think even with Jordan Travis, it wasn't easy for me to say for sure that Florida State. I'm not saying they weren't arguably a top four team. It was hard for me to say without a doubt they were a top four team. But regardless, uh, very upsetting for them. When it comes to this game, I don't. It's kind of I have a love hate relationship with this game because it's gonna bring out the best of both of these teams. They have something to prove. Georgia wants to prove that they should have been in. Florida State wants to prove they should have been in. Um, the good thing for Florida State is you have more right to claim a national championship if you beat Georgia than UCF did when they tried to do it. However, claiming a national championship and winning a national championship are two totally different things. Um, but I think that this also provides the opportunity for them to kind of step up. Georgia, we talked about it all season. Georgia didn't look like the number one team, like the clear number one team to me at any point in the season. I think that Florida State proved week in and week out that they deserve to be in that top conversation. So we're gonna see how they really match up in this. And yeah, it's not gonna be a true matchup, with it being a bowl game and everything. But
Mhm.
I'm excited to see how this Florida State team comes out and responds. I'm sure there's gonna be some anger. I'm sure there's gonna be emotion. Um, these are the type of games that we've seen a team come into and we've been like, this is their opportunity to whoop up on Georgia, and then Georgia just finds a way to shut them down and do what Georgia does. So I'm very interested to see how this game turns out.
Yeah. I think an underrated storyline coming into this is how good Florida State's defense is. I think they have one of the best defenses in the country. I mean, obviously Louisville isn't anything to write home about, but the way Florida State was able to shut them down in the ACC championship game, the way they've been able to play all season, I think Florida State's defense has the opportunity to keep this game close. How well their offense can play to kind of keep any pace with Georgia is definitely the biggest question. I don't think Brock Bowers plays in this game, but I mean Georgia's still stacked at wide receiver and tight end, so I don't think that's the hugest loss for Georgia. I think Georgia wins, but I think Florida State finds a way to keep this to a score, maybe 10 points. I don't see this being a two-touchdown game, but I do think Georgia wins. 35-24, I think is the final. So that's what I'll go with. Your pick for this one.
Yeah, I got Georgia winning this one too. Again, I don't think Brock Bowers plays either. And Florida State's defense has been playing great, but we've seen Florida State's offense struggle the last couple weeks without Travis. Even with Travis, there were some games where he didn't look perfect. And I think Georgia's defense is just going to be too much. They can send all 11 guys on the defense to the NFL, and they'll have another top 10 defense next year waiting. It's just what Georgia does. They're good. Um, there's a reason that they were back to back national championships. But I also think that Florida State covers. I think this is closer than that 14 points. And Florida State fans are going to be even more upset, but that's college football.
Yeah. So those are the 6 bowl games that we are going to preview for you guys this morning. Obviously, we're very excited about all of them. Don't forget, and we will remind you guys, pull the graphic up at the end to enter our Capital One Bowl Mania contest. Another thing that we like to do during the bowl season is our Swear Jar Sweat. We did this last year, same exact bowl game last year between Wake Forest and Missouri. Missouri has a breakout year. Maybe we're going to see a team kind of struggle here and then have a breakout year next year. Who knows? But Georgia Tech, UCF will be playing Friday, December 22nd at 6:30 p.m. We'll be live on YouTube again. Last year we did a spelling bee. Who knows what we're going to get into this year? We'll have friends stopping by throughout the night as well. It's going to be a ton of fun. We really hope you guys join us over there. One thing that we have not decided yet is what our bet is going to be. And so we are going to do that live here with you guys this morning. And the way we do that is we use what we call the Wheel of Destiny. We sit here and we cycle through. We have all the bets placed in here, and we eliminate them one by one until we get our one winner. And that is a bet that we place. So first thing to be eliminated that we will not be betting on is going to be Georgia Tech to cover the spread. We're going to remove that. And for those of you saying this is a dumb way to decide what we should place our money on, it's not perfect, but it's done us pretty well. So
Yeah,
looks like we're not
first
betting
of all,
on
we're
Georgia Tech at all.
we're a dumb way to bet our money, so we can't really judge a wheel.
All right, and we are not going to take the over either. All right, we're down to the final 3. It's either UCF money line, UCF to cover, or we're going to take the under. Looks like we're not going to take the under. One more
UCF
spin.
money line wouldn't be bad.
What's going to get eliminated next? I don't think it would be, and that looks like that's what we're going to have. So join us on December 22nd as we put our swear jar money onto the UCF money line. That's going to be a very fun night. Again, friends will be stopping by. We might do a spelling bee again. We might get into some karaoke. Who knows? It's going to be a fun night. But we hope you guys join us over there for that. Let's get into the game that we have today. Actually, I lied. Before we get into that, one other thing I wanted to talk about with bowl season is I have some complaints about the scheduling this year. I posted a tweet about this last night. There are 16 teams playing in their home state. And some of these I get, like Texas is a gigantic state. I looked it up. Some schools are still going like 4 hours away. But nonetheless, there's 16 teams playing in their same state. Feel like we could have done a better job scheduling that, getting these kids out and exploring a little bit more. 2 teams are playing in their own stadium. Where's the fun in that? Essentially getting an extra home game. If we look, some schools that don't have to travel very far that aren't playing in their own stadium, UCLA travels 13 miles. They're actually traveling to SoFi Stadium, which is closer than the Rose Bowl, which is where they play their home games. Rutgers is traveling 23 miles from their home to Yankee Stadium. Boston College is traveling 4 miles to play in the Fenway Bowl. Texas A&M travels 95 miles. UCF travels 98 miles. So that's 5 schools traveling less than 100 miles. USC is also really close. They're traveling 128 miles. Again, feel like we could have just done a better job of scheduling these bowl games and letting these kids go travel a little bit more. I understand it's not the biggest deal in the world and all that stuff, but something I feel like could have been done a little bit better with the scheduling this year. Any thoughts on that, Nick?
Yeah, to be fair, from our perspective, like they travel 6 times a year minimum, so like they might not care as much as we might think that they care.
Yeah.
However, it could always be a good opportunity to get places that you've never been before. Um, I don't know. I think that they should move him around a little bit more. I think that at the very least, you should play in an opposite state. I'm sure there'll still be teams sometimes that might be real close to a state border and might go under 100 miles. But um, I don't know. Just get them out and about. Get them, places that they're not used to being. A lot of their away games are going to be, um, you know, interconference rivals they might see multiple times anyway. So yeah, get them out and about, get them to see some things they've never seen, and just let them enjoy the bowl season the way fans enjoy the bowl season.
Yeah. Moving on, now we're going to talk about the Army Navy game. This is America's football game. This is one of the best traditions in college football, one of the best rivalries in college football. It's so special that it literally gets its own week. Now, next year, that might not be the case with Army and Navy being in the same conference. And we believe that will most likely be the case. I really hope they at least save it for rivalry weekend at the very least, or maybe make it like the second or third week in the season. I don't know how they're going to do that. We will definitely keep our eye on that. But they're fighting for the right to sing second, which again I think adds another little layer to this rivalry, and I think is one of the coolest traditions. This will be 3 o'clock today on CBS. Before we get too much farther into this game, also the FCS playoffs are going to be today. They started last night. The quarterfinals did. There are a lot of great matchups in the FCS. If you want to check out more college football today, definitely go watch some of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Montana won over Furman last night, 35-28 in overtime. So they advanced to the semifinals. The other games we have today are Villanova and I almost said San Diego State. Villanova and South Dakota State. South Dakota State's a 21-point favorite at home. We have North Dakota State at South Dakota. That's a rivalry game in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. Definitely another one that you need to check out. And then we have Albany at Idaho tonight, the nightcap, 10 o'clock on ESPN. Albany also traveled to Hawaii earlier this season. So these are the nomads of the FCS. But again, a loaded slate of FCS matchups on top of the Army Navy game. Still tons of college football for you guys to watch today. Make sure you go check that out. Show the FCS some love. Back to this one, Nick. Give me your pick. Who wins Army Navy?
Yeah, so I debated this one because I didn't want to add another game differential between Slade and I, but then I did the math, realized it didn't matter, and I couldn't bring myself to say Army anyway because I got too many people I know in the Navy. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the underdogs here and go with Navy.
Slade is going to take Army. I just don't. I think it's going to be a close game. It's not going to be like the ones we saw in a couple years past where Navy or Army kind of pull away. I'm excited to see that it's not going to be bad weather either. Going to be right about 45 degrees. They're playing in Foxborough this year. I believe this is the first time they played there, and they've kind of started this traveling around thing, which I think is really cool. They're not always playing in just Philadelphia or Baltimore. They've mixed in New York a couple times and now Boston. This is going to be a great matchup and perfect conditions for it. Um, Again, I don't think I can go against Army. I think they're on too much of a wave right now or on a ride. They've won their last couple. Navy's kind of stumbled the last few weeks here, and neither team is going to get to go to a bowl game. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Army this week. I just don't think I can go against the momentum that they have. And every time I say that, they end up the team I picked, kind of falls apart. So Navy might end up winning this one. Nick, you just alluded to it. Let's go ahead and update everybody on the final standings. I shouldn't say final. We're going to add obviously another game to it, but everything else is wrapped up for the season. Nobody can pass another person in any of the standings. So, cash out records. Nick, you took home the crown here. You went 18-15 this year. I finished 16-17-1, just shy of my 500 goal, but much better than what I did last year. Slade went 12-19-1. So those are the final cash out standings for this season. Next up in the pick'em standings, Slade ran away with it at the end of the season. I was 2 games back with like 4 weeks to go, and I finished 15 games back. So life comes at you fast. But Slade wins that 139-70 on his picks this year. So great job by Slade there. And last but not least, we had our upset alert picks. Nick, you took this one home as well by 2 points over me. We all hit the last 2 weeks, I believe. I think we all hit our upset alerts. But nonetheless, that was a lot of fun to keep track of this year as well. don't forget, Swear Jar Sweat, December 22nd, 6:30 p.m. on YouTube. We hope you guys join us. You just saw we'll be taking the UCF money line. We'll be putting some money on that and then sweating it out. Friends will be stopping by. We'll be doing fun activities all night. Probably have some more trivia. So we hope you guys join us there. And then don't forget, the Capital One Bowl Mania contest is live. Go fill out your picks. Make sure you join our group for your chance to win $75 this year. Jack Wagon Sports 2023 contest, 1 entry per person. You need to be following us on any social media. YouTube is included in that. So if you're subscribed to our YouTube, just make sure you put down the best social media to reach you. And so that way we can get in touch with you if you do win, so we can get your money a little bit quicker. The very first year we did this, 1, it wasn't a rule they had to follow us, but 2, it was like 2 months later, and finally we got a message, and it was a lady, and she was like, "Are you gonna send me my money?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just didn't know how to get it to you." So,
Right.
so then we decided we needed to make some rules. So here they are. So make sure you guys head over there and join us. It's going to be a ton of fun, and we'll be updating you guys on the standings throughout the rest of the bowl season over on Blitz Boys. That's our Thursday morning podcast that comes out. So make sure you guys check that out as well. It has been a fantastic year here on Out of the Tunnel. We appreciate you guys for supporting us the entire year. It's been a lot of fun. We will be back for the semifinal games and the national championship games, but this will be our last Saturday morning show for the rest of the season. So we can't thank you guys enough for your support. Like I said, it's been a ton of fun, and we look forward to doing this again next year. And as long as our wives keep letting us do this on Saturday mornings. But that'll do it for this video. We will see you guys in the next one. We hope to see you in 2 weeks at the Swear Jar Sweat. And have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your Saturday of college football.